again in the South. This time coming at you from a little place called Athens, Georgia. This guy is one of my best friends and someone that I've had some of the best conversations in my life with. He is a smart, talented, hilarious dude. And during this episode, we discuss many things, including the infamous 27 Club, Justin Bieber, how slave owners used to get votes in a presidential election based on how many people they owned, whether or not it's worth dedicating your entire life to a religion, Biden and Trump, and also living in Georgia. This is his second episode and his second pseudonym. I love this guy so much. His name is Leif Treeson. What I was going to start with is the 27 Club. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't think I do.
Really?
Should I?
Yeah, you definitely know.
No.
27 Club. Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse. And then if you include, you can include Bradley Nowell from Sublime. Mm-hmm. I think he was 28. Shannon Hoon from Blind Melon was 28. Mm-hmm. Elliott Smith was 34. There's all these people.
Is that who you named your kid after?
Mm-hmm.
Elliott Smith?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we named all of them after musicians.
Fiona was after the donkey in Shrek or whatever.
No, not exactly. Fiona Apple.
Are you a big Fiona Apple fan?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we both were.
That's awesome.
And then Lennon after Stalin and Lennon.
I was going to say.
That's the first question people ask. They're like, you named him after the guy from Russia? No, the musician.
Lenin, Hitler, Maxwell.
Yeah, he could change it someday if he wants to. No, what I wanted to bring up about it, though, is all these people, all these musicians that made all this incredible music that changed everybody's lives, they went out super early. Mm-hmm. And do you think... sometimes I think about, like, what if Neil Young went out? What if Bob Dylan went out? What about Keith Richards? I don't even like the Stones. Yeah. But all these people died super early, and it's almost like they did all these amazing, wonderful things in like I forgot Kurt Cobain, in like a 3 or 4.
I heard you said him.
Did I say?
I thought you did.
Well, they all recorded this music, like 2, 3, 4 albums in a 3-year span. And it's fascinating to me that it happened in that early part of their 20s. It's almost like you can't make life-changing music once you get into your 30s.
Tell that to Tom Petty.
Well, he's dead too.
He lasted a little bit longer.
It's true.
The one thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about that is they, unless I'm forgetting something, they didn't really make it to the point where they were like overly commercially successful either. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, didn't Neil Young do like an iPod commercial or something at some point? Like in the early 2000s?
U2 did.
U2, of course. Yeah. Just crap like that. It's like, did they maintain more of their artistic integrity because they didn't live long enough to commercialize their music? Like Hendrix was never on Austin City Limits or, or doing a Whole Foods commercial or something,
Target.
Yeah, or Target. Like,
you imagine Hendrix doing a Target commercial?
Excuse me while I shop this place.
It's fascinating to me, though, that all of that stuff happened in such a short time period. And yeah, most of them didn't get to experience the success that came afterwards.
Like their music was commercially successful later on. Even Janis and all, like they were all used for commercial purposes. But would they have been if they had still stayed alive? Or, probably like CSNY, they were super OG, super whatever.
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
super hippie, super like from the 60s. I mean, just like anybody else. And their careers morphed into more of a commercial thing. Like their music was used commercially, and they went on tours. They're probably still on tours. David Crosby toured with, who did he tour with?
Crosby?
I want to say Grateful Dead, but it wasn't Grateful Dead.
Yeah, I mean, there were a bunch of those bands that were hanging out together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're still making music, and they're still deeply artistic, but I don't know. There's a different, I feel like there's a different thing from the artists that have stayed, like, I mean, good for them. They keep their careers going for 20, 30, 40 years. But in order to do that, it's like, okay, well, your songs are not going to be on an iPod commercial, and you're going to be sold with every Mac that comes out or whatever, you know, versus you feel like with Jimmy and Janis and even Jim Morrison, whoever, you just feel like a deeper, I don't want to say, it sounds trite to say they never sold out. It seems trite to say that, but I mean, that's basically what it was. Like they maintained their artistry, it seems like. But
with somebody like Janis Joplin, like, have you ever appreciated her? Yeah. She had a great voice, but I feel like she wouldn't be as famous as she is if she would have lived. I don't think she had other things that were going to happen.
I could see that.
Oh, and I forgot Bonham.
Oh, yeah.
Bonham was 31, man.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Do you ever think about age? Like, I'm 36, you're 36. You ever think about, like, Bonham did all of that with Led Zeppelin by the time we were 5 years younger? Wrote some of the best music that will ever be recorded.
You know who's 36 right now?
Who?
LeBron James.
Yeah.
Like, what have we done with our lives?
I got a sneaker deal.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, music is, I feel like, I mean, things are different now. People still do drugs, but it doesn't happen, that type of thing doesn't happen anymore. It's almost like
having that longevity or having that big of an impact, you mean?
No, people don't OD.
Oh.
Like,
you're just talking about that.
What about Beiber? What if Beiber went out at 27? I don't know how old he is. He's got to be close. What if he went out at 27? He's automatically going to get lumped into that club.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he shouldn't, but
I think it's just people have, I think that was kind of a new-ish phenomenon back then. Like everybody getting so wasted all the time and getting into heavy drugs, and like cocaine was just coming onto the scene, and you know, they were just figuring out what acid was and all that kind of stuff. And so there was no precedent for it. And nobody, I mean, even just like with smoking, like a lot of people didn't know how bad it was. It was like 9 out of 10 people or 8 out of 10 people smoked. And now it's like, if you smoke, you're like a social pariah. But yeah, I think just with the way society has changed in its thought towards drugs and the just say no and all that crap that happened, it stigmatized it more to the point where like, yeah, somebody like Bieber now will like, he might like go to a party in LA and he's like going to snort a line and it's super cool and he thinks he's awesome, but it's not going to become part of who he is, I don't think. And like to the point where he ODs or even like the things they get addicted to now too are just like pills.
Yeah.
You know,
oxys.
Yeah. And
I think,
then you get put into a
yeah,
$100,000 a day rehab or whatever.
I think there's too much money to be lost. They probably have more people looking out for them.
And because most of them, I mean, honestly, most of them have centered their careers around the monetary purpose behind it and value behind it. You know what I mean? Like they're not, maybe I'm idealizing it too much, but you don't feel like Janis got into it for the money. You know, she's purely there for the artistic integrity, and Jimmy and whoever.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, no, Bieber started out on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like he got in, like, sure, maybe he likes music and he writes songs and whatever, but he got into it for the money.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. Like there's too much to be lost, where he's not like a tormented artistic soul who's looking to quell his problems with booze and cocaine and whatever.
What if you met him and he was just like the smartest dude ever and so deep? You're like, whoa, Beiber, I didn't even know.
Also, how many of those people, if any, committed suicide versus OD'd?
Kurt Cobain supposedly committed suicide.
Supposedly. But even he was later. I mean, he's 30 years later than some of the others we're talking about.
Well, and do you know about Elliott Smith?
I don't think I do.
He stabbed himself.
Oh.
In the heart.
Oh.
Twice. I don't know how you do that. That's why there are not disputes, but the only other person there was his girlfriend at the time. And from what I remember, she was locked in the bathroom and they were having a fight. And then she came out and he was laying on the ground. And they say something like, if you go to stab yourself.
I was going to say, would that even be physically possible?
Your brain stops you from doing it.
Yeah.
Because the desire to live, it's like there's a puncture wound first before it actually goes in.
Yeah.
And with him, I think there's just 2 full stabs.
Unless he was just on meth or something.
He was doing drugs and he was like insanely depressed.
Yeah.
But.
Which this is when? Mid-2000s?
This was 2003.
Yeah.
And you know what else the crazy thing is that I just learned recently? You never really got into Blind Melon, right?
Not into them, but I appreciated them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their lead singer, Shannon Hoon, was like...
Weren't you telling me about a documentary?
Yeah.
I never watched that.
They just put one together, and it's amazing how much footage he shot of himself. Like, today, people are constantly live streaming to Facebook or Snapchat or whatever.
Okay. Live streaming to Snapchat.
Kids.
I'll give it to you.
I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know.
Technology.
People are doing things in real time, and other people are watching it.
Okay.
In the early 90s, Shannon Hoon had a video camera, just like one of those old school records on the little DV tapes or whatever. And he was constantly recording himself, like super mundane stuff. Like he's brushing his teeth in the bathroom and then he's playing with his cat, like all this really weird stuff.
And for what purpose?
Just documenting his life, really.
Yeah.
And so they had like over 100 hours of footage that somebody went through and turned it into a 90-minute documentary. And almost all of it is footage he shot.
Really?
Which is really weird. 20 years later, after he's dead, you're watching him, and they have the last... he's in the hotel room talking to his wife, and he sets it on a chair, and it's just recording him talking to her.
Yeah.
And just having a conversation. And then, like, an hour later, he gets on the tour bus and ODs on cocaine. So you get to see, like, the last hour of his life.
But do you think it was on purpose?
That he recorded that moment?
No, that he OD'd. So that he actually like how do you even know when somebody ODs if they're doing it intentionally? Like if they're actually trying to commit suicide?
I don't think he tried to commit suicide.
Yeah.
I think he had a bunch of issues and he was in and out of rehab, and I think he maybe took a break for a couple weeks and then he just did too much.
Oh, yeah.
But not that many people OD on cocaine. It's usually heroin that gets them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, can't remember where I was going with that. So he documented that last hour of his life. Oh, I know where I was going. That happened. This is really weird. That happened on, I believe it was October 22nd.
So very specific.
Of 1996. Elliott Smith killed himself on October 22nd, 2003. So there was exactly 7 years between them. Not that means anything, but that's just kind of a weird coincidence. It
is. I'll give you that.
But yeah, I wonder, like, I had this conversation on a different episode with Galen Ballinger about creativity and where it comes from and how certain people tap into it. And it's like thoughts and ideas. It's like, where where did Steve Jobs get some of the stuff he came up with? Where did, well, we know Edison stole all of his ideas from the people who were working for him, but where did Alexander Graham Bell get that? Like, how does that happen for regular things? And also, how does it happen musically? And a lot of those people, I think they were tapping into something that other people didn't understand.
Yeah.
And it was so overpowering that they just burned up, man. They just, there's some life force that like pushed all this amazing shit right through them.
Yeah.
And then they just burned up. It's like they were just like a filter for cool songs.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, it was so much creative energy that, I like that term, that filtered through them, that they just couldn't, you couldn't maintain a normal consciousness and a normal existence.
Yeah.
With having that much. Like, I mean, think about how unique they are. So nobody, like, who's gonna be their confidant? Like, who's gonna understand them? Who's gonna understand what they're going through? So they're gonna be incredibly lonely.
Yeah.
And it's like, who's got the... they're gonna be incredibly lonely, and everybody's wanting a piece of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to make money off them and whatever. And they probably have some kind of like crazy wounding from their childhood where
For sure.
either their parents hated them or their dad beat them or something. So, yeah, compile all that, and they have thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're young, like 5 out of 5. Compound all that on each other, and they don't. I mean, it's surprising they last as long as they do. In that case, you know.
Yeah, what you said, I've seen and read a ton about the Beatles, and that was one of the things they always said is they were like 4 untouchables, and no one else could relate to them.
Yeah,
they only had each other.
But at least they had each other.
They had each other, and so it was like a life force, and you couldn't talk to one of them and get anything out of any of them because they were just so they confided in each other so much. Yeah.
I feel like bands like U2 are probably the same way. Just bands that have been the 4 of them for how many years? You know, 40 plus, maybe 50. 50? 40?
U2, they started in the 80s, so 40 years.
No, they had to start before that. Yeah, maybe early 80s.
Yeah.
Late 70s, early 80s.
Well, and we were talking about the Chili Peppers earlier. They started in the early 80s. They've been together as long as U2, which is weird.
Yeah. Just about mid 80s. Well, they're as old as those guys too. I don't know why. Why would why do the Chili Peppers seem so much younger? Is it just
I don't know,
the music they play or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because U2, they all just seem like a bunch of old farts. But it's like, yeah, they're the same, probably the same age.
I know. They're like in the same class in high school. It's like, no.
It's like how I seem so much younger than you.
3 months. 3 months.
But I have a youthful glow about me.
You have a youthful glow, but I have so much more knowledge. All those things I learned in that first 3 months.
3 months worth. How to eat pizza with reckless abandon.
Man, I'm glad somebody taught me that. Yeah, but being in a band, I mean, I've been in a bunch of bands. I know you have too. It's a weird dynamic. I mean, it's like a marriage with 3 or 4 other people, and you can't usually just take it your own direction. You kind of have to get everybody on board, and
unless you're like Elliott Smith, and then it's like, your name is the band. You are the band.
Yeah.
So even if you get musicians who like kind of understand what it's like to be on the road and have that lifestyle and whatever, like they're not going to understand you personally.
But
in that kind of case.
But also, if that's the case, then you're coming up with everything. Not many people do that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was unique because he could play piano, guitar, bass, drums, sing. So he could record an entire album by himself.
Yeah, like Beiber.
I really want to think he's like a cool dude.
I bet he is.
I mean, he can't be to a certain extent because he's been famous since he was a kid. That's got to mess you up, man.
I think he actually is a pretty good musician.
Yeah?
Like, I think he plays guitar and piano and drums for sure. He'll jump back on the drums in his...
For real?
in his shows.
Yeah? Huh.
Funny.
You seen some of his shows? Watching them on YouTube?
That guy I was talking about, who's the...
Next topic.
That guy who's the engineer that lives here.
Yeah.
He's Bieber's engineer.
Ah. Well, you should ask him.
Oh.
Be like, hey, what's he like? I mean, does he eat a club sandwich?
You should have had him on the podcast. It would have been a lot better.
No.
I could just text him. Hey, what's Bieber like?
Yeah.
I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah, dude. I mean, since I was a little kid and I figured out that music was the thing that kind of spoke to me, kind of tried to research and learn as much about the people I was very interested in. But things change over time. And, I mean, are you still pretty good at finding new music, or you just kind of listen to the stuff you've always listened to?
I feel like I constantly feel like my standards are just too high. Like, I end up just listening to the things I listen to, and maybe every, like, couple years, I make, like, a new discovery and a new obsession. Mm-hmm. But I'm so jaded. I don't know why, but I'm just, like, jaded against, the new music. Like, well, let's go listen to the new band. Even here, like, there's tons of cool bands, and, like, this is
Where's here?
Athens, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
The Sunshine State. No, it's not. That's Florida.
You fooled me. There's a decent scene here.
It's known for, like, I mean, this is where REM is from. Mm-hmm. Your
Neutral Milk Hotel.
Yep, your favorite band of all time.
Yeah,
is
man.
From here.
Yeah.
The B-52s.
Yeah.
They're from here.
I don't know if I told you this or not, but I was gonna, not that it would ever happen, I was gonna be like, hey, if anybody in Athens knows Jeff Mangum,
you should have.
Tell him to get. I don't know if he lives here anymore.
I bet he does.
But that would be cool, man, if I could sit down with him.
I don't know if any of the REM guys live here or not.
I would assume not. They probably live in, like, London or something.
There's a few like famous chefs I know who are from here that still live here.
Because cuisine is...
No, just because they're from here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be mainly because of the college, right?
I think that's what, attracts most people.
Yeah.
And then they end up staying for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't, like, when I hear new music, it's really hard for me to, like, I could like something and kind of like the way it sounds, and then I immediately start dissecting it, and I, like, judge it way too harshly.
Yeah.
And it just, if it has any whiff of, like, insincerity or, like, copycatism or whatever.
Like Greta Van Fleet.
Oh my God. Don't even get me started. I can't even talk about them. They're just...
I don't know if they came up with it on their own, but for anybody listening who doesn't know, they're basically a Led Zeppelin ripoff.
Were they put together by a marketing company or something? Because they literally look like a Target version of Led Zeppelin.
When I heard it, I legit thought it was an unreleased song.
Right.
From their catalog. I was like, holy shit, they're putting out new music? Like, what is going on? And then I realized they're like 15-year-old kids.
But to the point where they dress the same and they make the same gestures and they play the same type of instruments.
Mm-hmm. Does the lead singer put a sock down his pants?
Yes, he does, because he's 15. But why would you do that? Like, those kids are obviously talented. Mm-hmm. They can play their instruments. That kid can sing.
Yeah.
Why do you have to make a complete facsimile of a band that's already been amazing and great and groundbreaking and original?
Yeah.
Like, that crap just drives me crazy. Mm-hmm. So anytime I hear a band that's just like, if I feel like they're trying too hard or they're trying to be somebody else, it's just like it's an immediate turn off. And I just can't. I wish it wasn't, because I can't get past it then.
Yeah.
And then I can't appreciate all this new music like I wish I could. And also usually whenever I find a new band or new musician or whatever, I immediately go to YouTube and try and find live videos. And I want to know, like, can they pull off, like, am I just hearing, because you can do anything, absolutely anything on a record nowadays.
Yeah.
So, well, for the last 15 years, you've been able to do anything on a record. So it's like, are they just doing something, fancy with their editing, or can they actually play? Can they actually put on a show? Can they actually sing? And if that can tick all the boxes, then I'm like kind of in.
It's disappointing when you hear an album and then you go to see somebody live and it sounds nothing like it.
Yeah.
You're like, man, what were you doing in the studio?
I got really into the Head and the Heart for a while and went and saw them live, and they were terrible. And I think they knew it sort of, and they like took the next couple of years and got better.
They're like, we're not touring anymore.
Yeah, we're just going to practice. I think they're better now, but I kind of stuck with them because I liked their songwriting a lot, and I like that's a big thing, like songwriting and melodies and lyrics. Like, that's another big thing with me. If the lyrics come off as like too pretentious or like shallow or like you're trying too hard or something, that's
the thing I always go back to. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. Is how passionate someone is with it. Like there's so many people who suck at playing. Like Kurt Cobain is a perfect example. He sucked at guitar, but you could just feel the pain in his voice.
Don't you think
it was universal?
Don't you think Greta Van Fleet is pretty passionate? I mean, seriously, like
I don't know, honestly.
I mean, yeah, there's genuine. Yeah, I know what you're saying. There is genuine passion, genuine, real, authentic passion that's born out of, honestly, probably just born out of hardship.
Yeah.
Like with Cobain. But then you have manufactured passion.
Well, that's the shit that doesn't sell. You can see past that. And maybe little teeny bopper 12-year-olds at home don't quite understand it, but like anybody who's been through something can see that when they hear a new song.
I guess people just don't care. Is that what it is?
I don't know. Some people just want something on in the background.
Yeah. And yeah, if you want to do that, then sure. But if you're like actually sitting down with a pair of headphones or monitors and you're listening to music to get the actual soul behind it, if that's what you're looking for, then you have to acknowledge that stuff.
Yeah.
And you have to take it seriously.
Yeah, that's the coolest part about so many types of music and so many songs that you've heard is understanding that somebody slept in a room, that a band slept in a room.
Where that was going.
They had one sleeping bag and none of them had jobs.
Yeah.
And then their car caught on fire and then somebody stole their guitars and like
that in that Flea biography, he was talking about him and Anthony Kiedis going to like a ski resort or something and sleeping under a stairway.
Yeah.
And they would go ski and then they would go he like knew a laundry mat or something and they would sleep under a stair. Like they were poor and they were struggling and they weren't trying to do it so they could be the Chili Peppers eventually or be rock stars or whatever. Like they just wanted to play their music and that like it was so inside of them and so ingrained in them that that's all they could do and all they wanted to do was just play music.
At some point though, I think luck or fate or whatever you want to call it plays into it because for how many people that made it, there's so many other people who slept in that same stairwell at the ski resort and just didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody, I mean, think how many people just reached a point where they're like, fuck man, I can't do this anymore. I gotta go get a job at H&R Block now.
Yeah.
And some people it just works out for some reason. Like,
well, and some of them probably have the same life path or trajectory or whatever as Janis or Jimmy or whoever, but nobody's ever heard of them. And they're in a club in Albuquerque every Friday night pouring their heart out playing the most amazing music, and they eventually OD or something. And it's like they just lived the exact same life as these guys did, but nobody ever knew it.
There was a guy recently, you probably know who he is, and I can't remember his name now, but he's like a 39-year-old singer-songwriter. I think he hung out in Austin, and he was like somebody's son, some famous guy's son, and he's that exact story. He played music forever and couldn't quite make it, and then he OD'd.
Yeah.
Some people just don't. I mean, it's
and is
weird.
It just luck, or is it?
Well, it has to do with. I mean, the cool thing about where we're at now is anybody can put something out.
Talk to me.
Your head's gonna be out of frame on that.
Talk to me, Goose.
Anybody can put anything on the internet, which means that everybody has access, but also there's so much shit to weed through. In the 60s, the reason Jimi Hendrix blew up is because he's playing left-handed guitar and humping it and playing it with his teeth and doing crazy stuff that no one had ever seen before.
Yeah.
And the only way for that to happen, to spread, was by word of mouth.
Yeah.
And so...
Or you actually get on a radio station. Like you get your stuff played on a radio station.
Have you seen That Thing You Do?
Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorite movies.
Dude, that scene when they finally get the song on the radio.
Just pure joy.
Yeah.
Like the struggle and the hardship that it's taken for them to get to that point, and just to hear a radio disc jockey announce their song and play it. Like, they almost like got in a wreck driving around town. And that's not, I mean, yeah, it's Hollywood and it's idealized and it's stylized, whatever, but that's what really happened. Like, you really were that excited.
Yeah. Because
it was so hard to do. And you were playing at
school dances.
What was it called? Villa Pianos. Villa Pianos down by the airport every Friday night, just to make
Chad. Who's Chad?
Just to make $100.
Yeah.
Who's Chad? I don't remember.
Yeah, man, I love that movie. Tom Hanks nailed
just
it.
Broke his arm.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I've seen that many, many times.
Yeah, I love that movie. Yeah, that's the difference in the last 60, 70 years. So many things have changed. So many things have happened, and now it's easier to become discovered.
Yeah.
But there's also 100 million other people out there.
I think that's why I gravitate. I mean, it's also what I grew up with, but I gravitate more to artists from the 60s and 70s and a little bit the 80s. Just because it was so much harder back then. You had to be so much more genuine and passionate about it, and you had to give up, in a lot of cases, you had to give up everything to make it happen. And yeah, go sleep in your car for 6 months or whatever, just playing gigs on the weekends.
Yeah.
Like, Bieber's not doing that. Maybe he is. I don't know.
He's got a villa in France.
We're hurting on him pretty hard.
He's going to be so mad when he hears this.
I guess some floaty in there.
Yeah, man. It's interesting.
But there still are, there are still pockets of genuine, soul felt music that are still coming out. I mean, I think they're just few and far between, but there is stuff that's still happening. I mean, the cream always rises,
But the other thing I wonder about is where do we go? Because this is a thing that we've been doing. I mean, people have been singing songs for thousands of years, and they just pass from tribe to tribe, and they're just like hymnals you chant together around the campfire or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
Continue.
I feel you. Yep.
Okay. But then in probably, I mean, when was recorded music? I want to say the 30s is when they could finally put recordings on acetate. 20s or 30s?
Could have been the 20s.
Yeah.
Could have been the teens.
But until then, if you wanted to hear something, you had to go hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to a podcast and somebody said something about you will never get to hear Beethoven or Mozart play.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You get to hear what they wrote, but you never get to hear them play. Maybe they played it a different way.
Well, and to me, that's why I do what I do. Like, that's the draw for me of live concerts. It's like, even as much, as music is produced and tampered with and edited and whatever, like, there still is an element to you go to a live show to see somebody physically perform that song, and they either can or they can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and anything can happen too.
Yeah.
They could break a string in the middle of a song, or they could sing a note a different way that you've never heard it before.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part about seeing some live performances. Like, I want to say Radiohead is one that does it. Just when they sing it or play it differently than they do on the album.
Yeah.
It's like you're hearing a new song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's their current interpretation of the music they wrote.
Yeah, for sure.
Father John Misty's like that.
Yeah.
We were talking about him earlier. He does a lot of melody ad-libbing kind of. That's a double-edged sword, because I always felt like Elton John is a huge one of those. Like, he almost never sings the right melody. He's like always creating, and it's probably just because he's so creative and so in his head, and he's so talented. Like, he's just creating something new every time, and he's performing it a new way every time. But then there's times where you go and you're like, I just want to hear you sing Tiny Dancer.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I just want to hear that line, and I'm expecting to hear this note next, and I want to hear that. It's going to make me feel good, but you're going to sing it down on this chorus or whatever. It's going to be a weird way.
Yeah, sometimes it can go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to get so old, though, playing the same songs.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, you almost have to, like, for me, it's like, instead of getting bitter and being like, well, why can't you sing it normal for me? It's like, you got to respect what he's doing. And, like, yeah, he has sang that song 15,000 times, maybe, And so, like, for his own artistic integrity, he's still creating it, and he's still changing it. And this is how he sang it on Tuesday in 1994, or whatever, And yeah, there is the recording that, like, that's the recording forever. And that's the way he sang it on the recording.
I was just thinking, like, if you hated a song that you had recorded 30 years before, if you hated it so much, you'd go out there and hit play on the iPod and, walk in the back and have a couple drinks while it just played on. You'd be like, fuck this song. I'll be back in 4 minutes. You know what I mean? Because a lot of those guys, they have to play that stuff.
That would be amazing. Like, this is what you came to hear, but I can't sing it anymore.
Yeah, I'm over it. I'm over it.
I'll be back.
It's like if you ate pizza every night. After 363 times of eating pizza, you'd be like, dude, I want some Thai food.
You would know.
Yeah. Well, we getting pizza tonight? Papa John's?
Oh, man. That's hard, man. Yeah, because those songs mean so much to so many people.
For sure.
And those people are... Yeah, I mean, you're going to a concert to hear them perform that song, but do you want to hear them perform it today at 7 p.m., or do you want to hear them just regurgitate what they wrote 70 years ago or 30 years ago so that you can hear it and feel good about it? Which I tend to be the latter.
Really?
But I wish I wasn't. Yeah. I wish I could appreciate more, like, the artist that's in the moment and almost reliving and recreating that song for you live. Like, that's actually a huge thing.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool, huge thing. But I'm like, oh, I want to hear, hold me closer, Tiny Dancer. I don't want to hear you go up at the end.
Yeah.
You're going to go down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you tie a lot to those songs. I mean, it's kind of like smell. I can be walking through a Target to go buy deodorant, and I hear a song that, like, reminds me of some chick I made out with in high school, and I'll instantly get taken back there. I'm like, I haven't thought, like,
you just instantly start salivating.
Like, man, I wonder what she's doing. Like a great example is all those one-hit wonders from the 90s.
Oh yeah, dude. Fastball.
Yeah,
remember that band? The Way.
Yeah, that's actually a great song.
I freaking loved that song when I was a kid. Or like the Proclaimers, 500 Miles. I would walk 500 miles.
That's a great song.
Complete one-hit wonder.
Mm-hmm.
But like I bought those records and like I listened to them until my ears were tired.
Mm-hmm. My brother, he's gonna be upset I said this, but we went on a road trip once, and the Mbop by Hanson had just dropped. I'm not joking at all. He listened to it. It was the single. He listened to it like 40 times in a row. He loved that song so much. Gosh. And you know what's cool is going back and like after this, I kind of want to go listen to Mbop.
Can be arranged.
Okay, cool. When you hear those songs when you're a kid, you don't evaluate it the same way that you do when you're old ass men with beards.
Yeah.
So you go back and
kind of a beard. Go ahead.
It's a mustache with a little. I haven't shaved in a week.
Yeah.
It takes you. I mean, you get to relive something, but you also get to kind of hear it for the first time because I'll listen to like, I can't think of a good example, but like a Mariah Carey song from like 91 that was like super famous, and you just kind of throw it away because it's Mariah Carey and she's super famous. She's released 100 singles, but you go back and listen to it and you haven't heard it in 20 years and you're like, holy shit, this is a really good song. I understand why it went where it went.
Yeah. Or Whitney Houston.
Oh man.
Give me a break.
She did some incredible stuff. She's another one, man. Like she had so many problems. She's doing blow with Bobby Brown in the bathroom and getting punched in the face and driving cars off cliffs or whatever. But she took all of that emotion, man, all that passion. And when she'd sing, like when she did the Dolly Parton cover, I Will Always Love You. Like, dude, when you just listen to her voice, man, oh, dude, it's so good.
It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
You remember Natalie Imbruglia?
She was married to Daniel Johns. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are they divorced?
No, they broke up in like 2002 or something.
I used to sing that song in a band that I was in. I didn't sing it. There was a girl bass player that sang it. But it takes me back to that band. It takes me back to being in 8th grade or 9th grade or whatever it was. And nothing's fun, I'm torn. I'm all out of faith.
Now it's in everyone's head.
Yeah, but it came on. It came on somewhere recently when we were like at a restaurant or something. I was like, oh my gosh. And it literally just took you right back there.
That's how I kind of recognize who the establishment that I'm in, like who they're catering to. If you go in somewhere and you hear those 90s one-hit wonders, you're like, they're playing that shit for us.
Yeah, exactly.
You go somewhere else and they're playing like Nights in White Satin. It's for the boomers, Yeah.
Side note, the girl that I was in this band with, her dad he was like kind of supplying, he was a musician too, and he would like play in bars on the weekends, and he was a really good guitar player. But he was also kind of religious, and he didn't want us to sing, like he didn't want his I don't know how old she was, 14-year-old, 15-year-old girl. He didn't want her singing Lying Naked by the Door. He just didn't want her to sing that line. Or Lying Naked on the Floor. That's what it was. Yeah. So we had to sing Frying Bacon by the Door.
Because that makes more sense.
And that's more wholesome.
Everybody's like,
yeah,
that's not the right lyric. What are they doing?
I'm cold and I'm ashamed, frying bacon by the door.
Yeah.
Unreal.
That's no good.
Unreal.
That's no good.
We did it though.
Just this morning I was reading about songs that people write that have sexual innuendo that soccer moms in Atlanta don't understand. And so they're like blasting it in their car, and their 4-year-old singing along with them, and they're really talking about like getting blowjob somewhere or something. You know what I mean?
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I remember that like my first daughter when she was 5 or 6, there was something, what was it? There's a line in the Bruno Mars song.
Oh, really?
But she they
I'm still listening.
they kids bop-ified it. So they changed all the lyrics to it to make it more like family friendly or whatever.
And who was the artist again?
Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars, yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what that song. It was like 24 Karat Magic,
really?
whatever that song is.
I don't know what the lyrics are, but dude, that song is catchy.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you change the lyrics and make them family friendly, then it can be catchy for 5-year-olds too.
Whenever I'm thinking about ideas for this, one of the ones that always pops up in my head is to have an episode with you, and I think I've mentioned this to you before, have an episode with you where we talk about how good songs are that you're not supposed to like. You know, like you kind of be embarrassed to be like, oh man, I really love Britney Spears. Hit Me Baby One More Time.
That's a banger.
But there's a lot of those songs that the older I get where I'm like, I'm not afraid to say that I really like. I can't think of something right now, but you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like a lot of that stuff that Michael Jackson wrote. Not that he's embarrassing or something, but there's so many people working on those songs that are the fucking greatest at what they do. Yeah. There's no way that song is going to fail. Yeah. I mean, same thing with like Taylor Swift. Mm-hmm. Like I don't personally like Taylor Swift, but sometimes I'll hear a song of hers on the radio and I'll be like, man, this is really good.
I never realized that until, you know who, excuse me. You know, Ryan Adams.
Yeah.
Have you heard he did the entire 1984 album.
Somebody told me that. It was probably you.
It was probably me. Well, it is so freaking good. He like he rewrote a decent amount of melodies and like even the way, like the timing of them and everything. But he did every song on 1984, and it's a freaking banger.
She has an album called 1984. Mm-hmm. I didn't know. It
was like one of her biggest. And it kind of made me want to like go back and listen to her, like listen to the real original version of it and see how he came up with that. And it's really good. Dude, I should get a speaker out here and we should just play stuff. I have a Sonos sitting
I wish that you couldn't get, not banned, but
you get flagged.
Removed. You get flagged by YouTube.
I forgot.
There's so many things I wish that you could play, like as you're
We're like
discussing
Bluetooth.
You know? Bluetooth?
I don't know. It's like YouTube. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
I was going to say something more off color, but that's...
we're in Georgia.
It's not who I am.
We're in Georgia.
Sipping sweet tea.
I'm sipping Elijah Craig.
You don't like your sweet tea? You haven't even touched your...
I'll put that in yours, and I'll put that in mine.
Touched your sweet tea.
I drank some, dude.
Did you, though? I put it in a mason jar for you, so you could feel like you were in the South.
Mason jars are where it's at.
There's cotton fields right around the corner.
You want to talk about that?
You got a mason jar of sweet tea. You should be feeling it right now. I don't know how I could get any more Southern for you.
You could have had a box of peaches.
Do they come in boxes?
I don't know, like a knapsack? Like an apron full of peaches?
No.
No?
Yeah. I should have got some barbecue. I would have had some barbecue for you.
Yeah. I haven't eaten any authentic Southern food since I got here.
You had grits this morning.
We did have grits. I had fried chicken like 17 times.
Yeah. Did you have any like actually good fried chicken, or did you just have kind of like the fast food?
Bojangles?
I mean...
Mixpies?
Zaxby's.
Zaxby's.
You don't get flagged for saying Zaxby's?
No, an ad pops up right now.
Yeah, you have to bleep it out. That was me bleeping it out on myself.
It's cool to come down here and like hit up all those places that don't exist on the West Coast.
Yeah.
But also,
yeah, what's it been like? I'm going to interview you now. What's it been like to like see places that you've heard about your whole life, like, and places you've read about in history, like in Civil War history classes and things like that, and like, oh, I've always read about Charleston and I've read about Fort Sumter, but now you've like seen it.
My brain's pretty good at trying to recreate what it was like when it happened. So when I'm driving through all these rural areas the last 6 days, this might sound horrible, but I like try to picture slaves in cotton fields.
You're right. That does sound horrible.
You know what I mean? It's just like...
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
It's incredible that was a thing. That you could own a person. And you know what else I was reading about recently with the Electoral College?
Tell me.
Do you know why it was established?
No.
It was established by the founders so that they could control who actually won. They didn't want the people to actually be able to influence the election and choose the president.
Sounds like a conspiracy theory.
It sounds like they wanted a democracy, or they wanted to portray the idea of a democracy, but they didn't really want that to happen.
Yeah.
They still wanted to be in charge of who got voted in. And when the southern states were added to the Union and they were given Electoral College votes, if you were a slave owner and you owned a slave, they were counted as 3/5 of a person.
Yeah.
Have you heard that before? Yeah.
I have.
Do you know how fucking insane that sounds?
Does now, but
then it was like, yeah, I have 100 slaves, so I get 300 extra votes, or what? I don't know. I'm not good at math, but
it was close.
Something like that. But what it allowed the southern slave owners to do is, although there weren't enough white rich landowners in the South, they still had sway because they owned black people. And they could vote for a presidential candidate based on how many people they owned. What the fuck? That's like 200 years ago.
Yeah, that's the bigger thing, is it's actually not that long ago.
No.
In the span of
human history.
Which is, what, 13,000 years or something?
For what?
Human history. Or maybe longer than that.
Oh, it's way longer than that.
50,000?
I mean,
200,000?
It depends on how you classify it. But yeah, I mean, like humans have been...
Sapiens?
Yeah, it's been like 100 to 200,000 years.
Oh, okay.
Where we've been like...
I was slightly off.
Just a little bit. That's all right.
So what is 200 years in the span of 200,000? You know? It's such a blip on the radar, but it's so... I'm not trying to like say that it's not important by any means whatsoever, but it's the kind of thing that like people get killed for, you know what I mean? It's the kind of thing that, I mean, nowadays, like it's the kind of things that end lives and causes protests and rigs elections and does all these things. And it's like, I don't know. Is it really worth it in the span of history? Like is what worth it? I don't know. Like your life, I guess. Like ruining your life or ruining somebody else's or killing somebody else or you being killed just for something that's 200 years old.
In terms of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how heated people get about things for pride of the American ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the older I get, and you and I have talked about this a bunch, the older I get, it's like in 100 years, everyone you know is dead. No one matters. Maybe you're Keith Richards, maybe you're Janis Joplin, maybe you're Donald Trump, and you get...
But in 200 years, your kids' kids are dead.
Yeah, what I'm saying is you get a sentence in a history book.
Yeah.
But no one cares. Does anybody really care about Caesar or fucking Gandhi or...
Okay, whoa. Let's not get crazy.
But you know what I mean?
Gandhi was wonderful.
It's a human that existed. They did good things. They did bad things. They're dead.
Yeah.
We really don't care. We really, this might sound bad. We really don't care what Martin Luther King Jr. did. And he was shot and killed in 1968, I think. That was 50, 60 years ago.
You're really good with dates.
I remember numbers for some reason. I don't know my middle name, but I know dates. And that's not to discredit MLK. He did some amazing, wonderful things, but no one really cares.
Right.
He's been dead for 60 years. we're at a time period right now where you got kids on TikTok, you got Elijah Craig, you got McDonald's, you got Chick-fil-A. Like, everybody's so preoccupied with everything else. What happened in history, you may be able to, it may influence you and like push you in a certain direction, but you're really gonna do what you're gonna do. You're gonna be dead in 100 years. And I mean, you might be scared to get into this, but like that video that's on YouTube that shows what happens to the universe and the earth and the sun. The sun I can't remember the figures. The sun burns for a trillion years. No one gives a fuck.
Well,
about us.
Also,
we're
the
nothing.
The video is what, like 15 minutes total?
Yeah.
And human history, all of human history from that 200,000 years ago to the die out of the human civilization is like maybe 8 seconds in that 15-minute video. Maybe.
It's quick.
Yeah.
You're still watching it after 10 minutes and you're like,
humans died 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. You're like, how is this still going?
Yeah.
No one cares. The universe doesn't care. We're so insignificant, and people think that we matter, but we don't. And so that's why, I don't know, when you just start like evaluating life and what's important and what you want to spend your time on, it's really like you get to hang out with people.
Yeah.
You get to love your kids. You get to eat some good food, drink some Elijah, and then you're gone, man. Like, why are we so worried about everything? Yeah. Why is everybody so worked up about everything?
Why are we? I mean, I understand having conviction and standing up for what you believe in and those things, but to demonize people because they don't believe what you believe, and to hate people because they don't believe or think what you believe and think, and to kill people because they don't, you think like their beliefs are so like they're not Hitler, they're just Republicans or they're Democrats or whatever. And it's like, you honestly think they're so worthless and disgusting that you're willing to kill them and spend the rest of your life in jail, you know, your worthless 70 years that you have left or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, how is that a thing?
It's crazy what certain beliefs or certain religions or directions in life will take you. I mean, I don't know if I've talked to you about this before, but like my grandpa, who was deeply embedded in the Jehovah's Witnesses church, he dedicated his life to that. I think when he turned 23, and he just died. He died a few years ago. He was like 70, 60, 70, something like that. So 50 years of his life. Yeah. The only thing that he is guaranteed to know is real, he dedicated to worshiping this imaginary thing. And because of the rules and regulations within that belief system.
But he didn't think it was an imaginary thing.
No, he didn't.
So is it real? It's not real to you, but is it real if it's that real to him? Like who decides if it's real?
I don't.
You know?
That's what I'm saying.
Who knows?
But the only thing that you're guaranteed is what you know is real. And we know, as far as I know, this is real. Maybe it's not.
It might not be.
It might not be. But it's as real as it gets. And I'm not shitting on him for believing in something, because there's many people in the world who have some sort of belief.
Yeah.
But because of what he believed, he disowned his daughter and took her pictures off the wall, and his other kids were not allowed to say her name. Then his son, the only person that could pass on their last name, came out as gay. He disowned him. Then the younger daughter, my aunt, you get out of here.
I hope you get stung.
The youngest daughter, my aunt, she grew up and she realized that she didn't want to be a part of that either, and she was upset with the rules and everything. They disowned her.
Yeah.
They wrote off the 3 things they created for a belief in a magical creature in the heavens that somebody wrote about in a book. He could have gotten into golf. He could have gotten into running a business. He could have gotten into Buddhism.
Yeah.
But because he chose that one path, it ruined
how many more lives?
So many lives, man. So many lives. And my mom talks about it in the one I did with her. It's insane, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I think like beliefs. I think everybody should have beliefs. I think you should, if you want to believe in Buddha or Muhammad or Jesus, like I think you should be allowed to believe in them as long as it's not hurting or intentionally hurting someone else.
Yeah.
And just somebody being offended that you believe in Jesus versus Muhammad, I don't think that's qualifies as hurting somebody else. I think disowning your family and ruining their lives because they grew up without a father or whatever, that constitutes damaging other people.
Well, yeah, and it gets extreme with I'm sorry, I don't know what to call the religion, but whatever religion it is where you cannot draw a picture of Muhammad.
I've never heard that.
You've never heard that?
Is that Christianity?
No. No, I don't want to say because I don't know, and I'm not going to derail the conversation to look it up right now. Have you not heard about this? People getting beheaded in Paris because they drew a cartoon version of Muhammad. They're getting their fucking heads chopped off.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, man, it's serious. That's how strongly they believe that you should not draw a picture of their prophet.
Well, I mean, that's just radical Islam, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, that's
I think so, but I don't know.
That's the whole thing behind the Taliban and behind ISIS and everything. It's just radical.
That's part of the problem is you have people like me who read stories and I can't really comment knowledgeably on what's actually happening. If I can sum it into anything, it's basically what you're saying too, is like, if you want to believe something, that's cool, but don't judge other people because they believe something different.
Right.
Like, just let everybody, no one knows, man. No one knows. Just let everybody do what they're going to do. Let's just chill for 80 years, make some babies, watch some football, eat some Georgia peaches, drink some Elijah, you know? Like, why?
I forgot I was going to do this whole thing in an accent. I missed a big opportunity.
Let's start over.
Can we start over? At the 1 hour mark, we're starting over. Sync.
It's disappointing, man. It's so disappointing.
I totally agree. But I also vacillate between like don't you respect people who have conviction at the same time? I do. And maybe that's just because in our society now it's like so many people don't, like, everybody's just like, I don't know. I don't care. I'm going to go on TikTok. I'm going to stream to Snapchat.
What's Beiber doing?
What's Beiber doing? Like, they don't have convictions that they're dying for. Like, Christians these days, like, there are Christians that have such strong convictions that they spend their lives, they don't have families, they don't have, like, proper relationships, whatever. They go to other countries and they spend their lives trying to tell people about Jesus, and sometimes they get killed for it.
Yeah.
And it's like they were so convicted and they believe something so deeply. And it's like you can't poo-poo that, you know? You can't.
I don't. I think that's...
And I'm not saying you, but I mean, just like in general, it's like we can't, even if we don't believe that same thing, it's like there is something, and I don't know what the answer is. There's just something there about that conviction and how real that is and how much they believe what they've come to believe in life. You know what I mean?
It's a matter of dedication, and you could compare that to a marriage. You know, like that's why you enter that relationship or that agreement with somebody, is you want to believe that they're there with you and they've got your back.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with religion. Like, you believe in that thing and you're gonna go for it and you're gonna dedicate your life to it. But it gets weird when you attach it to the wrong things.
But are they the wrong things?
Well, Donald Trump is the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Like,
he has convictions.
He's a con man.
He has delusions.
He's a con man. He's not religious. Are you fucking kidding me?
No, he's not.
No, but he has been able to.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Go for it. He's been able to brainwash people, and that's the most disappointing part. Yeah. There's a significant portion of this country that has conservative ideals, and they have.
Remember, you're in Georgia right now. Be careful.
Am I going to get shot?
There's some
pew pew
Civil War snipers right over the hill over there.
They're just waiting for me.
They've got their muskets out.
What you say about Trump? Goddamn! It's pretty accurate, right?
That was pretty accurate.
No,
that was a very good Georgian accent.
I love all genuine people who want to. I've said this before on something else. Like, most people just want to go to a job and make money and take care of their family and live in a house, go to the lake on the weekend, hang out with their friends. That's what most people want. Most people don't want to be fired up about this shit. Yeah. But they have. They don't have to, but they do. They get fired up. And then you got somebody like Trump who because he's the only choice, they have to latch onto that. Yeah. And that's what sucks, is because
they don't necessarily agree with everything he says or does or whatever, but he is the representation of their party.
He is.
For the time being. So you have to support him.
They have to go that direction or to the other side, and they don't want to go to the other side.
Because it's A or B.
A or B. There needs to be C, D, E, F, G, H. Yeah.
There was somebody on, I mean, maybe I'm just out of it, but I went and voted, and there was a third candidate for president.
Jorgensen?
I'd never heard his name before.
It's a girl.
Her! I had no idea it was a her until this second. How did I get to the ballot box? And I don't have my head in the sand. I don't follow politics, but I don't have my head in the sand. Mm-hmm. How did I get to where the ballot is in front of me and there's somebody on there for president that I've never heard their name before?
It's a bad system.
Are you kidding me?
It's a bad system. But there's no inspiration. There's no incentive for the people in charge to change it, because they don't want us to have options. They want you to choose one. That's why they have the fucking primaries. That's why Bernie has been pushed out 2 different elections, and somebody more mainstream has been chosen because they think he can't win. Yeah. You can't have Warren and Buttigieg and Biden and Kamala, and you can't have all these people running against Trump, because then Trump will win, because they split the votes. So they should. I
mean, that's kind of what happened in 2016 too. Mm-hmm. They couldn't. I mean, eventually Hillary won, but it was such a catfight just to get a decent candidate for the Democrats that it was by the time they were done with all their infighting, it was Trump had already had a lead. Yeah. And it was you can't even be unified on your side.
That's the other issue, is that if Trump had opposition within the party, I don't think he would win.
Yeah. I
don't think the majority of people want to vote for him.
Yeah.
They vote on a party line. He got 70 fucking million votes.
72.
72 million votes. And I think Biden got 78.
Mm-hmm. So you're good with numbers.
Something like that. Nobody takes me for anything I say. I hope not. He got almost half of the country's vote. And I guarantee not all those people voted for Donald Trump. They voted for the Republican Party.
I would say the majority, even.
Yeah.
I would say the majority of the votes for him were for the Republican Party. Yeah.
The system's fucked.
Well, and it's sad that there's a ton of people I love and respect who are Republicans and who are smart and who know what they're doing. And I think Republicans in general are smart and and they have a lot of good, like, I don't agree with Democrats on everything. I don't agree with Republicans on everything.
Same with me.
But it's just become so one-sided. What's the word I'm looking for?
Divisive?
Partisan? A or B.
Yeah.
What's the A or B?
Yeah, I know.
Binary?
Yeah,
or
sure.
whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. That there's just no going back. It's like you're either in it or you're not. It's not like, and now it's gone binary to the point of, if you're on the other side, I hate you. Like, if you're voting for Biden and you're not trying to keep the Republican Party in power, I hate you.
Yeah. And
think about that. I hate you.
And splitting up families.
Yeah.
People are scared to go to Thanksgiving because they got to have a conversation.
I can't even imagine.
They got to have a conversation around the table about who won or lost or should have won. Yeah, I mean, there are certain people in your lives that, because their opinion differs from you, you can't even talk about that kind of stuff.
I saw all these pictures at some point during the election. I would see all these pictures of like George W. Bush and Clinton or whoever, just like hugging or like going out to dinner or like whatever. It was like, yeah, they're all on different sides. They all believe completely different things. They're all running against each other, and they're all still humans, and they can all still love and respect each other.
Yeah. And
the fact that Trump can't even get out of the office or admit to any kind of defeat. You know? It's just,
I know, like my buddy who's like, well, we still don't know who won. I'm like, yeah, we do. Everyone knows who won. I don't care if you agree with it or not, whatever, but we know who won.
It's crazy.
Can we just fucking move on?
It's crazy.
I hope we have the most boring 4 years of our lives.
Yeah.
Starting in January next year. I'm so fucking over it.
I hope Biden can actually do what, I mean, obviously politicians almost never do what they say they're going to do. But when he gave his acceptance speech or whatever it was the other night, and like 80% of the speech was just talking about reconciliation. And he like addressed Trump voters and said like, I know you didn't vote for me and I know why you didn't vote for me, but I want to be your president and I want to work together and I want to unify and bring people, like, God, I was so hopeful to hear that. Like, regardless of his beliefs or his stances or whatever, like I probably don't agree with him on everything, but it was like, just to hear somebody in leadership standing up and talking about unifying people and trying to bring them together and make people respect and love each other again. It was just so refreshing. It was like, if he could actually work towards that and pull it off, oh, man, it would just be like a dream right now.
I wonder if there's anyone in the world who would be the best person to do that. Is it Beiber? Gandhi? Is it Leonardo DiCaprio? Probably not. Is it who does everybody?
It's not Johnny Depp.
Is it The Rock?
Maybe.
Do we need The Rock?
That's too far. I was on board until then.
I was excited when Kanye ran.
I kind of thought he would get more traction in like just the absurdity of it all.
He waited too long, man.
Is that what it was?
He waited. He couldn't get on the ballot in like 40 states or something like that.
Oh.
I was excited. I was going to vote for him.
Was he on the ballot?
He was on the ballot
in some states.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. He got like 1.5% or something like that.
Which I want to know how many. Do you know how many votes that actually is?
Like 7.
No. He probably got like a few thousand.
Not even Kim voted for me.
She voted for Trump.
She's like, somebody got to get this crazy fucker out of here.
Oh my gosh. These trees are nice.
I like it down here, man. I like it.
You should move down here. It's nice.
When I got here, the first night it was raining, and it was bad.
Yeah, that very first night it was raining.
Ever since then, it's been clear. No clouds at all. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. This is Ray Charles land, man. Right?
Was he from Georgia?
Georgia on my mind.
But was he from Georgia?
Maybe he was from, like,
Iowa.
North Dakota, and he's just thinking about Georgia.
Yeah, it was pretty miserable when we first got here.
Because it's too hot?
It's too humid. It's not even the heat. Oh, Hannah's home.
She's like, what are these weirdos doing?
It wasn't even the heat, man. It was the humidity and like the dew point. I've started to learn about dew point. That makes more of a difference than humidity.
I don't even know what that means.
So normally, like, I think normally a dew point in like a comfortable situation is in like the 40s or 50s. And we have days where dew point is like 78. Like you can't breathe outside.
Where dew is created?
I don't know.
From condensation?
I don't know. I just know it's one of the like statistics that you see.
It's tied to
humidity somehow. Yeah. But it's like you can kind of look at the dew point and judge how comfortable it's going to be outside. Mm-hmm. It's like if it's above 65, it's not going to be comfortable outside. Mm-hmm. And we have days where it's like 77, 78. And it's just the day we were unpacking our truck when we moved here. That's
in August.
Yeah. Yeah. It was in late August. And I felt like I just jumped in a pool, like literally jumped in a pool with my clothes on.
You just stripped down to your boxers or what?
No, it's just brutal, man. You have to like keep like a handkerchief with you. Literally, it's like that's like a Southern thing, but it's like
right? It makes sense.
You have to keep a bandana or something with you to wipe your face off. Yeah. Or you like your eyes are burning and it's just miserable.
Yeah, man.
But now it's
dude, it's paradise right now.
63 and cool and breezy and
it's beautiful.
Nice.
This is the time to be here for sure.
Yeah. I think November to like March or April are probably the time.
So you just have to go back to the vacation home.
That's what snowbirds do. Yeah. I'm understanding retirees now. Because we used to have, my grandparents used to do that. They live in Indiana for the entire summer. Because it's like maybe in the 90s, like, but it's nice and manageable. And then in the winter, instead of it being, 15 and snowing, they come live down here, or they come live in Texas or something where it's, in the 60s the entire winter.
Texas seems appealing. I kind of want to go there.
That's where that's where my grandparents and my aunt and uncle both moved to, like, southern. It's the very southern tip of Texas. They're like 20 minutes from South Padre Island and 20 minutes from Mexico. It's in San Benito. Benito.
Oh, I added a D.
Yeah, it's understandable. But yeah, that's a thing that happens. Until they got too old, for a while they were driving back up to Indiana every summer for a month or 2 months or whatever, and then they drive back to Texas for the rest of the winter. They call them snowbirds.
I could get used to that.
Yeah,
having two different houses in two different locations, and you're basically following the sun, right?
Yeah, you're following the weather.
You have enough money and time to follow the weather. You don't have to. You don't have to put up with the bandana in Georgia. You're just like,
Even if it's just, it's not even about your house at that point. Like, even if they all lived in trailers, they lived in trailer parks. They were like nice. They were nice trailer parks, but it was still.
Let's just
trailer.
Let's classify. It was a nice trailer park.
They had a swimming pool.
Oh damn!
They had like a rec hall with a pool table.
Oh damn! Y'all want to go down?
Retirement communities. There's something very appealing about that. And I totally I kind of bemoaned them. I think when I was in my 20s, of like, oh, they're just gonna move there when they're 55 and retire and just like waste the rest of their life and just sit in the lawn chair and whatever. And I was like, oh, they could be doing so much more with their lives and traveling and doing whatever. But I think just as the older I get, I understand more with like the human condition.
Yeah.
And like just how shitty life is.
Yeah.
And like I understand, like my uncle that lives down there, he moved down there when he was like 45. Like he retired and moved down there when he was 45.
Sounds
and
awesome.
It was always like a joke in the family because he couldn't get into the retirement community that he wanted to be in because it was 55 and over. They wouldn't let him in. But I was just thinking about this the other day. He was also in Vietnam.
Mm.
And he never talks about it, doesn't want to talk about it. But I'm sure like that was terrible. And I'm sure it messed him up. And I'm sure like he came back and could probably think of nothing better than when he's 45 to just move to Texas and sit in a lawn chair for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
It's like he went through and saw so many terrible things and had to participate in so many terrible things.
Yeah.
And it probably, scarred him so bad that like, yeah, sitting in a lawn chair for the last 40 years of my life actually sounds like a pretty good idea. And I now have a lot more sympathy for and empathy for that position.
That's what you have to figure out, right? I mean, I think hopefully everybody at some point reaches the point where they're like, what am I doing? Like, you can only do so many things, and then you're just waiting.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to enjoy whatever you have. And if you're fortunate enough to retire at 45, I mean, he's still probably dealing with the memories and
for sure.
the night terrors and whatever happens with that. I mean, you're just
like you want, and I think it was probably the same way with a lot of the people that came back from World War II. It's like,
oh, dude,
you've just experienced so much horror and terror. It's like, all I want to do is live in a 3-bedroom ranch house and go to work 9 to 5 and have my kids be safe and grow up in a nice school for the rest of their lives and just make a good life for them. And that's what happened. I mean, that's how that was the American dream for a while. It's just come back and own a house and not get shot at and almost die every day and whatever.
That seems like the dream to me, man. Like I don't have a wife or a girlfriend or anything anymore, but like I've got the kids and I love them, and I mean I have a job and I go to work, but like if I could just have someone else to spend my time with, like that's really all there is, you know? You've got
you should put that excerpt on Bumble. Can you post videos on Bumble?
Bumble is working out for me down here.
Can you post videos on there? That could be like your bio video.
I just want somebody to spend time with.
This guy's so depressing.
I'm just going
to swipe left and go to the next guy.
I just want somebody who'll snuggle me.
No, the Bumble experience down here is, I mean, I was telling you.
You were getting Bumble. You were getting bumbled.
I got matched many more times here than I did in Portland.
Do people match you too? Like, do you get notified that people are matching you or seeing you and are swiping or whatever?
Bumble's different because you're swiping, but once you match with somebody, they put the authority, or I don't know what the word is, but they put the responsibility on the female. They have to message you first. I can't just message whoever I want.
Always on the female?
Yeah, I mean that's the point of it, is that it puts it on them. So so who knows how many matches all these girls are getting? You know, hundreds of matches.
Interesting.
Because dudes are just like, choo, choo, choo,
yeah.
choo. So yeah, they have to respond first, and then you go from there. And so that's different from. I don't really use Tinder, because I just haven't had much luck with it. But yeah, down here in the South.
But the girls can also go through. They're going through and they're swiping as well, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So they could swipe on you and be like, I like that guy.
Yeah, that's
and then
how you match.
And then do they get to contact you?
They have to first. If I match with somebody and they're just like, oh man, my thumb went the wrong way on this guy, then they just don't say anything.
But if like a girl is doing it and she matches, like she likes your picture, she likes your bio or whatever, and she wants to get to know you, she has to contact you
first.
Like you can't contact her.
Yes, exactly.
So you don't know if until somebody actually contacts you.
No, it tells you that you match. So if you match with somebody and they don't send you a message, then you know they screwed up.
Oh, nice.
And it only gives you 24 hours. So you're like, it's been 23 hours. Where is Phoebe?
Come on, Carla. Swipe left.
Yeah, man. It's
what
rough.
What a crazy world,
It's
man.
rough. You gotta, I don't know, man. Like there's gotta be a way to do it in real life.
There used to be. Remember we didn't have computers when we were kids?
I think people just got married to people they didn't want to be married to.
Oh, yeah, that
You know,
too.
squeeze out 6 or 9 kids and...
They were less, less
They just...
discerning.
Yeah.
That's the word.
It's hard these days, you know, when you're in your 30s and you got kids and... I mean, people are...
Leaves are falling on you.
I mean, think about it. If you were a 20-something girl and you saw some 30-year-old, 36-year-old guy with 3 kids, would you swiping on that? I wouldn't.
Maybe if you want a sugar daddy.
I'd be like,
Right?
yeah, because I'm loaded.
Up top. She didn't know that.
I'm sleeping in your house.
She didn't know that.
I mean, I have a really cool hotel room
You got a really nice
downtown Athens.
Really nice rental car.
Mm-hmm.
It was the
It's a Ford Escape.
It was the upgraded SUV.
Yeah, it's great.
So you think he's not as terrible as it's being made out to be?
She's a terrorist, man, which sucks because she's so hot. She's a fucking terrorist, dude. Seriously.
Oh, what does that have to do with
I'll put that into and then I'll say, keep it crispy.
Keep it crispy. Keep it crispy.
Okay, that's the end.